Welcome to Subscription Prescription, the podcast where you get the information you need to scale your subscription program. Welcome to another dose of Subscription Prescription. I'm your host, Matthew Holman. This is the podcast where we help you figure out all things related to D2C subscriptions. Now, for those of you that are running a subscription brand, many of you are familiar with this problem. Your customers have too much product and they go to cancel their subscription. Now, the problem is these are people that like your product, that are using their product, but maybe for whatever reason, they're getting a little bit too much on hand, and it's really hard to get them to change that cadence and to find the right frequency. What can you do with that problem? Well, I'm here to tell you about a new solution on the market called Bottomless. Bottomless is a software paired with a smart scale that allows your product to sit on it and reorder automatically when people need it. So imagine for somebody with a coffee subscription, they're drinking a cup every day. That bag gets used up, Bottomless reorders it. Hey, they go out of town for 2 weeks, or for whatever reason, they're not drinking that often. The scale knows that it hasn't used that much, and so it doesn't reorder. I promise you that if you're running into an issue related to too much product and causing cancellation, you should look into Bottomless for 2 reasons. One, brands that are using Bottomless are seeing ridiculous retention numbers. I've seen these myself at 12 months. They're much, much higher than anybody else I've seen in the industry. And 2, you can actually run it alongside other subscription apps. It doesn't have to fully replace your recharges and your stays and your SKUs of the world. It can actually run alongside them in conjunction with them. So if you're running into that problem, please take a moment and go check out bottomless.com. All right. This week's dose is all about frequency. It's all about usage. It is all about what you can do to create an experience that allows your subscribers to stick around longer because they're ordering it on the frequency that they need it the most. Now, before diving in a lot of the hows of what you can do to kind of fix all this stuff, let's spend a little bit of time talking about why frequency is so important. Now, before starting Subscription Prescription, or actually Subscription Prescription was originally started while I was at QPilot, which is a subscription app. We did a lot of research and data related to usage and frequency, like what happens when people are changing the frequency on their subscription, what happens when people are changing the products they're getting on their subscription. So I have a ton of data related to this, and I'm telling you that I have a ton of data because I want to make the point that letting people have control over their subscriptions is going to be more impactful for your LTV of those subscribers than it would otherwise. So what we found was that when somebody made 3 changes to frequency, meaning how often they're getting it, they made 3 changes to that schedule, they were 200% higher LTV on average, right? When people changed their product 3 times, they were 600% higher on LTV or lifetime value. Now, why is that? If you think about it, you have a lot of subscribers every month, quarter, depending on how often your subscriptions are renewing on average, people that like your product, that are using your product, but for whatever reason end up with too little or too much of that product. And people that really like it are going to try to make a change so that they can stay on the subscription. So for those of you out there that are making it really difficult to do that, where it's hard to make that frequency change, or things are really pretty preset, or that you're selling a ton up front and that people are just like, what am I supposed to do with all of this? And they're immediately having to go in and change their frequency. You're creating a bad customer experience. You're making it more difficult for the people that like your product and that want to keep your product to stay on that subscription. Another really big problem in this space is, if you think about it, is brands that are both available on Amazon as well as your site. Most of you are selling on both. If you have a subscriber that has run out of product and it's Monday and they know that they're not going to get their order till next week sometime, it's too easy to go cancel that order and order a 2-day delivery off of Amazon, right? And then maybe they subscribe and save off Amazon as well. But it's too easy to go to Amazon to get your product if they need it, instead of waiting for the subscription to show up, right? And as consumers, we often feel very, very confident in our ability to remember when we need to reorder something. So that happens as well. When somebody has too much product, they think, oh, well, I'm just going to order it as I need it instead. And while that is great, that can be okay on a repeat purchase process, it is not ideal, right? Because people do forget, they do stop using it, they do maybe go to an alternative product, or you just lose out on that recurring predictable revenue because they're no longer on a subscription, they're no longer as profitable for you. So creating an experience that allows people to align with their usage, their consumption, basically the right frequency, is something that's really, really powerful for you as a brand to be doing that, right? I actually had a consult call with someone just this morning, earlier before recording this podcast, and their number one cancellation reason was related to that, right? The amount of supplement that I'm taking isn't aligned with the amount that I'm getting. I have too much. I'm not taking it this frequently. That's their number one problem. So, what can brands like them, brands like you do to counter this problem of having too much product? Now, I've talked on other podcasts in the past. You can go watch some of these other videos to talk about creating a better onboarding experience where you're explaining to people like why it's important to take it consistently, right? So that's certainly something you can do related to communicating with people to get them to use it. But when we're talking about creating like the right type of experience of what you do when people need to make changes, there are actually a lot of things you can do from a technical standpoint. So every subscription app is a little bit different. So some of these things are like much more prominent in some and others. And instead of taking a hit list of running through every single one and how you do it, if you do have questions related to how you set this up in your specific subscription app, feel free to reach out to me or search help docs or reach out to the subscription app you're using for some of this implementation. But there are a couple of ways that I would look at doing this. And the first place to start is looking at like upcoming order emails. So a good example of this is Atlas Coffee Club, right? So whenever they send out an upcoming order email to subscribers, they have preset buttons that are triggered off of quick actions in the email that have preset skips in them. So if you do need to delay a shipment, you can choose to delay a shipment right from the email. Okay. So they're presetting it. So instead of it going like saying, hey, if you need to make a change or if you need to delay your shipment, click here. And then it opens the portal and they go through all that experience. They're doing it very, very quickly because they're trying to make it easy for people to delay that shipment. You don't want to do this with pauses, right? So the bad side of pausing is it's often indefinite, right? And you have to like try to re-engage or reactivate. So we're always looking at getting somebody to push out the order. If you need to push out your order, fine. That's better than canceling. So what kind of experience can I do to make sure that skipping option, and sorry, skipping isn't also a great term either, because skipping is like, I just don't want this one, I'll get the next one. That's generally what people think of when they mean skip within the subscription app space. So I'm talking about delaying shipments, okay, which is a little bit different. I'm delaying for 6 weeks. I'm delaying for 8 weeks. I'm delaying for 2 months, right? I'm delaying for a preset of time because I think I have too much product. Now, the downside to doing this in the email is that you will have higher delays than normal, right? But the goal is to have fewer cancellations. So when we're thinking through this of like, okay, I can get people to stick on the subscription and that are actually using the product, or I can just try to make it harder for somebody to switch, and I'm not going to make that delay action very easy so I can retain them better. You're still getting people that are going to click through and cancel their subscription. So something to think about, you can put quick actions in the email if somebody wants to make a change. If you don't like doing that, that's fine. You can still build an experience within the email that links to the portal where you have a little bit more control around experience. So within the portal, we have a lot of different options, right? I think almost every app that I've seen now is the ability to control pause, skip, cancel buttons. Again, I don't like pause. I only like pause if it's a delay action, right? So like if you go to pause and you have to pick the reactivation date, whether that's a month by default or allowing somebody to pick like 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, something like that, then that's okay. Otherwise, we don't want to use pause. We either want to push somebody to delay to a preset time, or we want to push them into a cancellation flow to make an offer. Okay. And the reason for that, again, is pausing. There's not a lot of automation built up around reactivating people. And the pause action it doesn't really do you any good. It just has somebody sitting on the books that's not actually ordering from you. We want them to take action, even if that's canceling and getting into that, because we can still put people into Klaviyo flows to win them back after the fact. And you can do that with pause, but it's just extra work. It's just extra. So don't worry about doing that. So within the portal, we can think about cancellations as well as delaying or skipping shipments, right? And again, delaying is a preset time, skipping is you just don't want it this time. Within the cancellation flows, you should be looking at making something very, very specific when we have people that are selecting, I have too much product, right? So we're trying to make offers to get people to stick around. So we want people to be able to change the frequency of their subscription within that flow so that they're getting it as often as they want. So if somebody really does have too much product, but they are using the product, that flow should be built around, let's find the frequency that's right for you. Hey, it's okay that you have too much product. Let's make the change you need to get this on the cadence that you need it, right? And so you can make it the very, very simple. People can choose a new frequency point or new frequency type so that they can get that on the cadence that works best for them, right? And that offer can include some kind of discount or some kind of incentive. If you think about this is much better to get somebody on the frequency that works best for them, that will keep them as a subscriber for you long term. So some kind of incentive does make sense in this, like, hey, because we care about you getting the product on the cadence you need, maybe not use cadence, but on the schedule that you need, we're willing to give you a discount to make this work better for you. So please pick the frequency that would be right for you, and you can win those people instead of losing them otherwise. I think another really important element of this experience is thinking about product page, about subscribe and save programs, about how we're onboarding people to the subscription, is making sure you're educating people that they're able to set the cadence or frequency that they get the product on as easily as possible without any other problems. Now, in an ideal world, you're able to acquire subscribers for something that's close to profitability on that first order. And then after a couple subscriptions, they're a very profitable customer for you, right? And so it's not as threatening to think about them skipping or delaying a month, of choosing a 2-month frequency instead of a 1-month frequency. It's all okay because you've acquired a subscriber, you're keeping them. But I know that the reality of subscriptions, the reality of e-commerce is that is often not the case, that many of you are acquiring subscribers at a heavy loss and are making up on the 3rd or 4th order to gain profitability. I know that that's happening. And so if somebody's just delaying a shipment, or they're going from a 1-month frequency to a 3-month frequency, it's a lot harder for you to recoup the cost to acquire that customer, and doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm going to point out one thing from a landscape strategy standpoint, and then talk through some other tactics that you can use to address this as a problem. From a high level, Recharge's State of Subscriptions report came out earlier this year, and one of the things that Andre Rudnick and I were talking about that we both found really, really interesting was looking at the average order value and the average frequencies for enterprise subscription brands. And what you can see is that a lot of larger, more well-established companies have smaller order values, smaller average order values on less frequent cadences, right? So they're okay with somebody who's only paying $20 or $30 on a subscription order that's coming every 2 months, because they have a lot more of them. They have a lot bigger budgets. There are a lot different sales channels, acquisition strategies, right? But because they're mature, it makes more sense to have people on the cadences that work for them, because they have unlocked that is how to keep a subscriber around, keep them happy. Let them order the amount they want on the cadence they want, and they'll keep reordering from you. Okay. Now, that's not doable for all of us, right? That's hard to attain, hard to achieve. So I do want you to keep in mind that with having the ideal in mind of getting people on the frequency that works best for them will make that person more profitable for you over time, right? over time being the key term there, not necessarily right away. So there are other tactics you can employ to get people to become a little bit more profitable upfront that still fall in line with this mission or ideology of getting people the frequency that they want. And that is, you don't always have to sell a single bag on on 1 month subscription. You can sell 3 bags on a quarterly subscription. Right? If you're thinking about your unit economics, the cost of those 3 bags, you could actually afford to discount them a little bit more because you're guaranteeing those 3 purchases. The shipping costs as aggregate will be lower. Instead of like one time you're sending a box 3 times, you're sending one bigger box. It's usually only like 20 or 30% more on shipping to do the 3 at a time instead of 1. So you have more margin available to you. And the best part is you're getting cash right away instead of once every 3 months or once a month for 3 months. So there are different ways you can enable purchase patterns that allow people to get what they want on the cadence that they want, that is also profitable for your business. Now, some of you may be thinking, Matt, you just said, I've got customers with too much product. I'm now giving them more product up front. I know. I know. So instead of saying you're selling 1 bag of dog food, I'm telling you to sell them 3. They're definitely going to have too much product now. Maybe. There's a couple things that are happening here. So first of all, let's keep in mind that not everybody is canceling because they have too much product. Not everybody is saying like, oh, this isn't the cadence I want. I'm never going to order from you again. No, you have plenty of people that are trying your product for a couple of months and that are leaving. They're gone, right? So when we can sell these bigger bundles up front, if somebody just buys it that one time, they don't renew, that's fine. That's actually better than what your average is going to be because that's essentially like a 3-month subscription. That quarterly subscription you sold somebody is essentially like that person is going to be more profitable than somebody that renewed 3 times. And I know looking at your renewal data that on average, you're probably only getting 70, 60% of your subscribers to that 3rd month mark, to that 3rd renewal, right? So that can still be more profitable from an acquisition standpoint. The other thing is that you're actually trying to find a path where you can empower the subscriber to get what they want. You're trying to create more engagement. There are a lot of people that are going to be willing to invest more when they buy the 3 months. They get 3 months worth. They're invested in getting that. It works better for you. You can do it alongside offers where somebody's getting only 1 or 2 at a time on a monthly subscription, right? You can actually position those values on the acquisition side. So it actually can have a net benefit of increasing conversions overall for you because you're providing more purchase options on the product page. People are able to choose the option or the thing that appears to be the most valuable to them, most appealing to them. And for the, say, 10 or 20 or 30% of subscribers that pick that option, they are more profitable for you. Churn is going to be lower for them than it is for the rest of your segment. And you're going to have happier subscribers overall. So it's something to think about from a testing standpoint. I will wrap up by saying that one of the things I love the most about my Dollar Shave Club subscription, and for those of you that are just listening at home, I am bald, and I've been bald for a long time. I've had a Dollar Shave Club subscription for close to 7 years now. I am on a fairly infrequent purchase rate, right? I don't shave my head a ton. I have an electric razor that I'm using from Freebird. So it's not something I use all the time. So I don't need to replace that razor like every week. So I don't need a replacement pack of 4 razors every month. I get it on like a 6-week or 7-week cadence. It's something kind of random that I picked. But the difference is that Dollar Shave Club has a subscriber that's been around for 7 years, right? I know tons of people that won't do shaving subscriptions because they feel like it's just more convenient to stop in at Walgreens or Walmart or whatever to buy a replacement pack when they need it, right? But that's not your ideal subscriber. The ideal subscriber is somebody that's willing to buy from you and keep buying from you because it is convenient for them, right? And so that does kind of come to this final point of thinking through what part of the subscription are people buying, are they buying from you? Are they buying from you because you have the best product on the market? I'm sure that you do, but there's a lot of competition out there, and a lot of people believe that they're buying the best product from whoever they're buying from. But if we're thinking about quality or convenience, right? convenience is one of the reasons why people subscribe to things. And so if you can lean into this methodology of you're trying to empower or enable convenience, then you have to unlock a better the ability to select the right frequency for subscribers, right? So, we used coffee as an example when we're talking about Bottomless at the top of this episode. There are a lot of coffee subscriptions out there. It's a very competitive space. So the idea is you can get the coffee that you love, the brands that you love, but you can get it in such a way that people are getting it at the cadence that they want, so that you don't just lose them to go buy that from somebody else, right? Like if you think about, like, if you like Pete's Coffee, there's tons of places you can order directly from the website, from Amazon, all other third-party marketplaces. If you're Pete's, you want them to be buying it from you. So enabling that experience is the best way to go. And as I said, that's going to unlock a higher lifetime value per subscriber to make that happen. Okay, that's it for this week's dose. I hope you got a lot of information there. Again, if you have any questions related to how to enable some of these things technically, please feel free to reach out to me or drop any comments. Big shout out to our sponsor, Bottomless. I just love coming across interesting tech in the subscription space that is enabling a better experience. That is really kind of like the future that I see for subscriptions, is enabling something that is very much in the control of the subscriber. So if you have a minute, please go check them out. You won't be disappointed. And that's it. I'll see you next week.
That's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe so that you can get notified when new episodes come out each week on Tuesdays.